Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Jerusalem's security cabinet has updated the war's objectives to include restoring residents of northern Israel safely back to their homes. The Biden administration relayed a warning to Jerusalem's top political leadership not to expand the war versus the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. While Iranian proxies have launched hundreds of attacks against U.S. installations, vessels, and service members over the past year alone, Iran's president claims that Tehran is not hostile towards the United States. The security cabinet in Jerusalem, following extensive deliberations, has updated the war's objectives to include restoring residents of northern Israel safely back to their homes. The Prime Minister's Bureau noted in its brief statement on the matter that Israel would continue to work towards achieving that goal. And while the IDF is expediting its preparatory efforts for an all-out conflagration versus Lebanon's Iranian proxy Hezbollah, the United States is ratcheting up pressure on the top political brass in both Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, warning Israel not to expand the war. White House Special Envoy Amos Hochstein arrived in Israel for a number of top-level meetings with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu respectively yesterday, and while the American envoy relayed the Biden administration's unrelenting position that expanding the war versus Hezbollah would not help restore a sense of security to Israel's northern residents, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant emphasized that the possibility for an agreement is running out as Hezbollah continues to tie itself to Hamas and refuses to end the conflict. Therefore, Jerusalem's top defense official contended the only way left to ensure the return of Israel's northern communities to their homes will be via military action, per a defense ministry statement. It is worth noting that there is growing multi-partisanship in Jerusalem in relation to the unbearable condition of northern Israel, alongside the government's statements, which are broadly aligned with the statement of Defense Minister Yoav Gallant to U.S. Envoy Hochstein. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid, following a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Washington, D.C., highlighted ongoing efforts by both Washington and Jerusalem to find a common solution to Hezbollah's ongoing aggression toward northern Israel.
And we're trying our best now, along with our American friends, to figure out a way to solve the conflict up north in the northern part of Israel without a full-scale war, and hopefully this will work. If not, we will have to act against Hezbollah.
Asked further whether he believed that his chief political opponent, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, was to blame for the failure of reaching a hostage release deal in exchange for a temporary cessation of hostilities in the Gaza Strip, Israel's opposition leader stressed that the blame lay solely with the Islamist Hamas terrorist organization, while noting further, however, that the government in Jerusalem should do more.
I believe first and foremost, Sinwar and Hamas, that is a terrible terror organization, are the stoppage, the largest stoppage to this hostage deal. But I think the Israeli government should do more in order to bring them back home.
Meanwhile, U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller stressed that the Biden administration continues to regard a negotiated solution between the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, a U.S.-designated foreign terrorist organization since 1997, and Israel as the only way to bring calm to the north of Israel and allow Israeli citizens to return to their homes.
We have long made clear that we believe a diplomatic solution is the correct way, the only way to bring calm to the north of Israel and allow Israeli citizens to return to their homes. There are tens of thousands of Israelis who have been away from their homes for almost a year now, and certainly an expansion of the current conflict in the north is not something that would get them back to their homes in the near future at all. So we'll continue to push for a diplomatic resolution. And in our conversations with Israeli officials, they have always made clear, as I think you've heard them say publicly on a number of occasions, that they would ultimately prefer a diplomatic resolution.
The State Department spokesman further highlighted that the Biden administration, which is spearheading negotiations to implement a ceasefire for the Gaza Strip, is evidently challenged with regard to achieving a negotiated solution for both the Gaza Strip and Lebanon.
We continue to see strikes back and forth across the border, as you know, because you see them publicly. Both Israel targeting Hezbollah militants and Hezbollah facilities and Hezbollah infrastructure, as well as Hezbollah launching rockets and drones across the border. So that's something that has obviously was taking place before October 7th, but has really continued at an elevated pace since October 7th. And the point we have continued to make to Israel and other parties in the region is that ultimately this is something that needs to be resolved diplomatically. And I think the issues here are well known. It's very tough to achieve a diplomatic resolution to the conflict across the blue line as long as there is ongoing conflict in Gaza. And so that's not the chief reason, but one of the primary reasons why we continue to push to get a ceasefire in Gaza, because of the possibility we believe it would unlock for calm in the north.
It is important to know that Hezbollah joined the war against Israel on October 8th of last year, and not on October 7th as specified. Meanwhile, amid reports regarding the Islamist Hamas and Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe in Yemen, establishing offices in the Iraqi capital Baghdad, the U.S. State Department stressed that it shared its concerns over the integration of additional terrorist organizations in Iraq with Baghdad's central government.
Yeah, let me be very clear. Hamas and the Houthis are terrorist organizations, and Hamas and the Houthis being allowed to operate in Iraq only risks increasing the number of armed groups that have an interest in using violence to undermine the government of Iraq's goals for stability, sovereignty, and economic growth. We support a stable and secure Iraq. The presence of these groups in Iraq risks bringing Iraq into deeper regional conflicts, and we have shared these concerns directly with the government of Iraq.
It is worth highlighting that Iranian proxy militias of the so-called Hashd al-Sha'bi, or Popular Mobilization Forces in English, which is commonly referred to by its acronym PMF, attacked an American diplomatic mission in Baghdad last week, as Iran's influence over Iraq is seemingly growing. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian gave his first press briefing since assuming his role, during the course of which he spouted a barrage of both lies and threats, while conveniently playing a victim over the ramification of the Islamic Republic's malign actions in the region and beyond. Pezeshkian went as far as to claim that Iran is not hostile towards the United States.
ما که با اونا دشمنی نداریم. ما که نرفتیم دور آمریکا پایگاه نظامی بزنیم. ما که آمریکایی‌ها رو تحریم نکردیم. اونا ما رو تحریم کردن. اونا پایگاه زدن. اونا ما رو تهدید میکنن. نکنن از این کارا ما اصلا برادریم با اونا هم برادریم کاری نداریم.
At a time when the International Atomic Energy Agency warns over Tehran's nuclear proliferation efforts, highlighting that the levels of enrichment pursued by Iran have little to no civil application, the Iranian president insists that his country does not pursue nuclear weapons.
ما به دنبال سلاح اتمی نیستیم. اونا هستن که دارن ما رو تهدید میکنن. اونا هستن که میگن موشک نداشته باش. خیلی خب ما موشک نداشته باشیم. اسرائیل رو خل سلاح کن. ما موشک نداشته باشیم مثل غزه، بعد هر وقت دلش خواست بمب بریزه تو کله ما و بعد اگر خواستیم حرف بزنیم بگن خفه شید.
President Pezeshkian went on to lie about Iran's delivery of munitions to the Houthi tribe in Yemen, while Western intelligence agencies stressed that the Houthis are heavily reliant on Iranian munitions. Pezeshkian blatantly insisted that the Houthis have the scientific competence to develop sophisticated weaponry of their own, including the latest ballistic missile that was launched toward Israel.
اون موشکی که اینا پرتاب کردن اون مثلا ما از اینا نداریم تو ایران. این که اینا توان پیدا کردن این کارو بکنن کار یه روز و یه هفته و یه سال و 2 سال نیست. شما بهتر از من میدونید علم و مهارت چیزی است که در طی زمان به دست میاد.
The Iranian president did acknowledge, however, that Iran and the Houthis are related to each other, as he put it.
این که ما با هم ارتباط داریم، با هم در یک نگاهیم، بله با هم ارتباط داریم، دلمون میخواد، ما نمیخوایم اسرائیل مردم رو نابود کنه.
Meanwhile, in Yemen, the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah, which is dominated by the Houthi tribe, proclaimed that it had yet again succeeded to down an American MQ-9 unmanned aerial vehicle which operated over Yemenite skies. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Separately, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based, please consider prescribing a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.